Hare Krishna! Welcome to Krishna Book Part 3, Class 3. We are on Chapter 60 of the Krishna Book. Krishna just delivered Bhaumasura, and now we're going to have a very beautiful chapter where he has joking words with his wife. Very much a rom-com chapter. And we're going to start with some kirtan. And after a long and grueling process of education, I've learned how to turn on the audio for live performance. It is in fact on, so now we can have kirtan.
Sure. Okay, will you flip the camera? Okay, hi Paul Sweet Souls. Can you hear me and the harmonium? I want to see some nods. Okay, good. So we'll start with our opening prayers, honoring and an invocation to all of our teachers for mercy, for grace, with gratitude. Let's take a deep breath in first. Sip the breath in. Open your mouth, exhale, let it go. Inhale, sip the breath in. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachayine Nirvishesha Shunyavade Achyataya Deshatayine Vanchakopatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Cha Patikanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Bhagavan ki, Shri Shri Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Shri Shri Gaura Nittai ki, Shri Shri Radha Govinda ki, Brahma Bhakti Sangha and beyond ki, Shastra Study Group of Shamya ki, Hari Hari Bol. Nicholas House in Santa Cruz ki. I got some excited faces. Yeah. Haribol. It's great. It is great. Yeah.
Om Gyanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuruniritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatideshatarane Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripasantubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jai. Welcome back to the Krishna Book group, everyone. It's great to be with all of you. I really appreciated the prolific comments and reflections in the WhatsApp. There were a lot this week. If anyone wants to share, I remember Pam, your comments were around how let's see if I can sort out who said what. You were talking about how Krishna can reciprocate with each of us personally, even if there are infinite living entities. He was showing that in his pastime with marrying. Maybe you can speak in your own words, but I'm recalling like this pastime where he married all these different princesses.
Yes, and what I seem to get focused on one spot, and then I get stuck on it, and then I kind of have to think about it. But when he asked the king if he could marry the daughter, and the king was like, "Well, no, you have to catch the bulls or do the 7 bulls," and Krishna
Right.
was like, "Well, no, it's my in our tradition, we don't give something to get the daughter; we just get the daughter as the wife." But to honor him, and the king said, "This is my vow," then he was willing to do that, and then did the 7 different. I forgot what we call them.
Yeah, it was like a Herculean task, like you see with Hercules doing this thing that no one else can do practically, superhuman task. He had to subdue these 7 like incredibly powerful, practically wild bulls that no other prince had been able to do.
Well, and then when he went into all his different, made 7 of himself, I can't remember the word.
That's right. He expanded himself into.
He expanded himself. Then she knew that, and it made me realize that he's done that for 150,000 princesses. He's doing that for everybody. So that it made me realize, or made me think, that that's what he does for each of us. That he's there for each of us, whether as a husband or whatever. That he has. There's that much of him to go around to everybody.
Yeah.
So it's not like somebody has to be jealous because he's married to her and not her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's no shortage.
Right. So plenty of Krishna to go around.
Thank you. Yeah, material consciousness is a consciousness of limited resources. We're fighting over limited resources. And spiritual consciousness is really not like that at all. And Krishna's showing that. You can have as much of him as you want, and that doesn't affect anyone else's ability to have him. In fact, with Krishna, the more of him you give, the more you get. The more you help other people come to Krishna, the more you get for yourself. Everything else, if you give your money away, how much do you have left? It's gone. You know? It's a nice sacrifice you made, but now someone else profited and you don't. But with Krishna, it's multiplicative. Thank you. More reflections? Well, I was appreciating. I'm going to read one myself. Right. So Eileen was talking about how there may be challenges and impossible situations in life, but Rukmini's example is that when that happens, she offered a heartfelt prayer to Krishna to draw him to her side in her time of anxiety. Because I guess you're referring to when she was about to be married off to Shishupal, which was, I mean, for her, disastrous. And it was about to happen. Like all the arrangements had been made. And she was just like so small, so insignificant in the face of all the different moving parts. But she prayed to Krishna to save her, and he did. Because you can't marry somebody who's destined to marry Krishna. So she gave herself to him, and that self-surrender really attracted him. So that's a wonderful example. As my mom would tell us all throughout childhood, nothing is impossible with God. Amen. Thank you.
Love that.
All right. Any more reflections? Or we want to get right into the Krishna book? Okay.
Dive in.
Let's dive in. We're on chapter 60. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hey. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hey. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rakshama. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Pahima. Rama Rakava, Rama Rakava, Rama Rakava, Rakshama. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahima. Jai Krishna Book, chapter 60. Talks between Krishna and Rukmini. I mentioned this chapter a while back. Well, you let me know what you think afterwards, but this is a very clever chapter.
Clever?
Yes, very clever. Once upon a time, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of all knowledge upon all living entities, from Brahma to the insignificant ant, was sitting in the bedroom of Rukmini, who was engaged in the service of the Lord along with her assistant maidservants. Krishna was sitting on the bedstead of Rukmini, and the maidservants were fanning him with chamaras, yak-tail fly whisks. Lord Krishna's dealings with Rukmini as a perfect husband are a perfect manifestation of the supreme perfection of the personality of Godhead. There are many philosophers who propound a concept of the absolute truth, in which God cannot do this or that. They deny the incarnation of God or the supreme absolute truth in human form. But actually the fact is different. God cannot be subject to our imperfect sensual activities. He is the all-powerful, omnipresent personality of Godhead, and by his supreme will, he can not only create, maintain, and annihilate the whole cosmic manifestation, but can also descend as an ordinary human being to execute the highest mission. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, whenever there are discrepancies in the discharge of human occupational duties, he descends. He is not forced to appear by any external agency, but he descends by his own internal potency in order to re-establish the standard functions of human activities and simultaneously annihilate the disturbing elements in the progressive march of human civilization. In accordance with this principle of the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he descended in his eternal form as Sri Krishna in the dynasty of the Yadus. The palace of Rukmini was wonderfully furnished. Hanging from the ceiling were many canopies with laces bedecked with pearl garlands, and the whole palace was illuminated by the effulgence of valuable jewels. There were many flower groves of Mallika and Chalmeli, which are considered the most fragrant flowers in India. There were many clusters of these plants with blooming flowers enhancing the beauty of the palace. And because of the exquisite fragrance of the flowers, little groups of humming bees gathered around the trees, and at night the pleasing moonshine glittered through the network of holes in the windows. There were many heavily flowered trees of parijata, and the mild wind stirred the fragrance of the flowers all around. Just as a reminder, the parijata was the heavenly tree, the desire tree from the heavenly planets that Krishna brought back to please his wife. Remember, he brought it back, and Indra was not so happy about that. The demigods kind of like put up a fuss. That's the parijata. Incense burned within the walls of the palace, and the fragrant smoke leaked out of the window shutters. Within the room were mattresses covered with white bedsteads. The bedding was as soft and white as milk foam. In this situation, Lord Sri Krishna sat very comfortably and enjoyed the service of Rukmini ji, who was assisted by her maidservants. Rukmini was very eager to get the opportunity to serve her husband, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She therefore wanted to serve the Lord personally and took the handle of the chamara from the hand of a maidservant and began to move the fan. The handle of the chamara was made of gold and bedecked with valuable jewels, and it became more beautiful when taken by Rukmini because all her fingers were beautifully set with jeweled rings. Her legs were decorated with jeweled ankle bells, which rang very softly between the pleats of her sari. Rukmini's raised breasts were smeared with kumkuma and saffron. Thus her beauty was enhanced by the reflection of the reddish color emanating from her covered breasts. Her high hips were decorated with a jeweled lace girdle, and a locket of great effulgence hung on her neck. Above all, she was engaged in the service of Lord Krishna, although at that time she was old enough to have grown-up sons. Her beautiful body was beyond compare in the three worlds. When we take account of her beautiful face, it appears that the curling hair on her head, the beautiful earrings on her ears, her smiling mouth, and her necklace of gold all combined to shower rains of nectar, and thus it was definitely proved that Rukmini was none other than the original goddess of fortune, who was always engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Narayana. The pastimes of Krishna and Rukmini in Dwarka are accepted by great authorities as manifestations of those of Narayana and Lakshmi, which are of an exalted opulence. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavana are simple and rural, distinguished from the polished urban characteristics of those of Dwarka. The characteristics of Rukmini were unusually bright, and Krishna was very much satisfied with her behavior. Remember, we established that the queens in Dwarka are all expansions of Radharani. So although the mood is different, and although Radharani coexists, she's still in Vrindavan, missing Krishna. These are all her expansions. Krishna had experienced that when Rukmini was offered a parijata flower by Narada Muni, Satyabhama had become envious of her co-wife and had immediately demanded a similar flower from Krishna. In fact, she could not be pacified until she was promised the whole tree. And Krishna actually fulfilled his promise. He brought the tree down to the earth planet from the heavenly kingdom. After this episode, Krishna expected that, because Satyabhama had been rewarded with a full tree of parijata, Rukmini would also demand something. Rukmini did not mention anything of the incident, however, for she was grave and simply satisfied in her service. Krishna wanted to see her a bit irritated, and therefore he schemed to see the beautiful face of Rukmini in an irritated condition. Although Krishna had more than 16,100 wives, he used to behave with each of them with familial affection. He would create a particular situation between himself and his wife, in which the wife would criticize him in the irritation of love, and Krishna would enjoy this. In this case, because Krishna could not find any fault with Rukmini, for she was very grave and always engaged in his service, he, smilingly, in great love, began to speak to her just to provoke her loving anger. Rukmini was a daughter of Bhishmaka, a powerful king. Thus Krishna did not address her as Rukmini, he addressed her this time as the princess. My dear princess, it is very surprising. Many great personalities in the royal order wanted to marry you. Although not all of them were kings, all possessed the opulence and riches of the kingly order. They were well behaved, learned, famous among kings, beautiful in their bodily features and personal qualifications, liberal, very powerful in strength, and advanced in every respect. They were not unfit in any way. And over above that, your father and your brother had no objection to such a marriage. On the contrary, they gave their word of honor that you would be married to Shishupala. Indeed, the marriage was sanctioned by both your parents. Shishupala was a great king and was so lusty and mad after your beauty that if he had married you, I think he would always have remained with you just like your faithful servant. In comparison with Shishupala with his personal qualities, I am nothing. And you may personally realize it. I am surprised that you rejected the marriage with Shishupala and accepted me, who am inferior in comparison to Shishupala. I think myself completely unfit to be your husband because you are so beautiful, sober, grave, and exalted. May I inquire from you the reason that induced you to accept me? Now, of course, I may address you as my beautiful wife, but still, I may inform you of my actual position, that I'm inferior to all those princes who wanted to marry you. First of all, you may know that I was so much afraid of Jarasandha that I could not dare to live on the land, and thus I have constructed this house within the water of the sea. It is not my business to disclose this secret to others, but you must know that I'm not very heroic. I am a coward, and am afraid of my enemies. Still I am not safe because all the great kings of the land are inimical to me. I have personally created this inimical feeling by fighting with them in many ways. Another fault is, although I am on the throne of Dwarka, I have no immediate claim. Although I got a kingdom by killing my maternal aunt, Kamsa, the kingdom was to go to my grandfather, so actually I have no possession of a kingdom. Besides that, I have no fixed aim in life. People cannot understand me very well. What is the ultimate goal of my life? They know very well that I was a cowherd boy in Vrindavana. People expected that I would follow in the footsteps of my foster father, Nanda Maharaj, and be faithful to Srimati Radharani and all her friends in the village of Vrindavan. But all of a sudden I left them. I wanted to become a famous prince. Still, I could not have any kingdom, nor could I rule as a prince. People are bewildered about my ultimate goal of life. They do not know whether I am a cowherd boy or a prince, whether I am the son of Nanda Maharaj or the son of Vasudeva. Because I have no fixed aim in life, people may call me a vagabond. Therefore, I am surprised that you could select such a vagabond husband. Besides this, I'm not very much polished, even in social etiquette. A person should be satisfied with one wife, but you see that I have married many times, and I have more than 16,000 wives. I cannot please all of them as a polished husband. My behavior with them is not very nice, and I know that you are very conscious of it. I sometimes create a situation with my wives, which is not very happy. Because I was trained in a village in my childhood, I am not well acquainted with the etiquette of urban life. I do not know the way to please a wife with nice words and behavior. And from practical experience, it is found that any woman who follows my way or becomes attracted to me is ultimately left to cry for the rest of her life. In Vrindavan, many gopis were attracted to me, and now I have left them. And they are living but are simply crying for me in separation. I have heard from Akrura and Uddhava that since I left Vrindavana, all my cowherd boyfriends, the gopis, and Radharani, and my foster father, Nanda Maharaj, are simply crying constantly for me. I have left Vrindavan for good, and am now engaged with the queens in Dwarka, but am not very well behaved with any of you. So you can very easily understand that I have no steadiness of character. I am not a very reliable husband. The net result of being attracted to me is to acquire a life of bereavement only. My dear beautiful princess, you may also know that I am always penniless. Just after my birth, I was carried penniless to the house of Nanda Maharaj, and I was raised just like a cowherd boy. Although my foster father possessed many hundreds of thousands of cows, I was not the proprietor of even one of them. I was simply entrusted with taking care of them and tending them, but I was not the proprietor. Here also I am not the proprietor of anything, but am always penniless. There is no cause to lament for such a penniless condition. I possessed nothing in the past, so why should I lament that I do not possess anything at present? You may note also that my devotees are not very opulent. They also are very poor in worldly goods. Persons who are very rich, possessing worldly wealth, are not interested in devotion to me or Krishna consciousness. On the contrary, when a person becomes penniless, whether by force or by circumstances, he may become interested in me if he gets the proper opportunity. Persons who are proud of their riches, even if they are offered association with my devotees, do not take advantage of consciousness of me. In other words, the poorer class of men may have some interest in me, but rich men have no interest. I think, therefore, that your selection of me was not very intelligent. You appear very intelligent, trained by your father and brother, but ultimately you have made a great mistake in selecting your life's companion. But there is no harm. The mistake can still be rectified, and is better late than never. You are at liberty to select a suitable husband who is actually an equal to you in opulence, family tradition, wealth, beauty, education, in all respects. Whatever mistakes you have made may be forgotten. Now you may chalk out your own lucrative path of life. Usually a person does not establish a marital relationship with a person who is either higher or lower than his position. My dear daughter of the king of Vidarbha, I think you did not consider very sagaciously before your marriage. Thus you made a wrong selection by choosing me as your husband. You mistakenly heard about my having very exalted character, although factually I was nothing more than a beggar. Without seeing me in my actual position, simply by hearing about me, you selected me as your husband. That was not very rightly done. Therefore, since it is better late than never, I advise you to now select one of the great Kshatriya princes and accept him as your life's companion, and you may reject me. Krishna was proposing that Rukmini divorce him at a time when Rukmini already had many grown-up children. Therefore, Krishna's whole proposition appeared to be something unexpected because, according to the Vedic culture, there was no such thing as separation of husband and wife by divorce. Nor was it possible for Rukmini to choose a new husband at her advanced age, when she had many married sons. To Rukmini, every one of Krishna's proposals appeared crazy, and she was surprised that Krishna could say such things. Simple as she was, her anxiety was increasing more and more at the thought of separation from Krishna. Krishna continued, "After all, you have to prepare yourself for your next life. I therefore advise that you select someone who can help you in both in this life and the next, for I am completely unable to help. My dear beautiful princess, you know that all the members of the princely order, including Shishupala, Shalva, Jarasandha, Dantavakra, and even your elder brother Rukmi, are my enemies. They do not like me at all. They hate me from the cores of their hearts. All these princes were very much puffed up with their worldly possessions, and did not care a fig for anyone who came before them. In order to teach them some lessons, I agreed to kidnap you, according to your desire. Otherwise, I actually have no love for you. Although you love me even before the marriage. Wow, Krishna's really going for it here. Really, he's really going for it here. As I've already explained, I'm not very much interested in family life or love between husband and wife. By nature, I'm not very fond of family life, wife, children, home, and opulences. As my devotees are always neglectful of all these worldly possessions, I am also like that. Actually, I'm interested in self-realization. That gives me pleasure, and not this family life. After submitting this statement, Lord Krishna suddenly stopped. The great authority Shukadeva Goswami remarks that Krishna almost always passed his time with Rukmini, and Rukmini was a bit proud to be so fortunate that Krishna never left her even for a moment. Krishna, however, does not like any of his devotees to be proud. As soon as a devotee becomes so, by some tactic, he cuts down that pride. Remember when Krishna left the association of the gopis? That also came up then. There was a discussion. Prabhupada explains that there was some sense from the gopis that he is ours now, and we have him, and we must be so great. And so Krishna left temporarily, of course. In this case, also Krishna said many things which were hard for Rukmini to hear. She could only conclude that, although she was proud of her position, Krishna could be separated from her at any moment. Rukmini was conscious that her husband was not an ordinary human being. He was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of the three worlds. By the way he was speaking, she was afraid of being separated from the Lord, for she had never heard such harsh words from Krishna before. Thus she became perplexed with fear of separation, and her heart began to palpitate. Without replying to a word of Krishna's statement, she simply cried in great anxiety, as if drowning in an ocean of grief. She silently scratched the floor with her toenails, which reflected reddish light on the floor. The tears from her eyes mixed with the black cosmetic ointment from her eyelids, and dropped down, washing the kumkuma and saffron from her breasts. Choked up on account of great anxiety, unable to speak even a word, she kept her head downward and remained standing just like a stick. Due to extremely painful fear and lamentation, she lost all her powers of reason and became weak, her body losing so much weight that the bangles on her wrists became slack. The chamara with which she was serving Krishna immediately fell from her hand. Her brain and memory became puzzled and she lost consciousness. The nicely combed hair on her head scattered here and there, and she fell down straight, like a banana tree cut down by a whirlwind. Lord Krishna immediately realized that Rukmini had not taken his words in a joking spirit. She had taken them very seriously, and in her extreme anxiety over immediate separation from him, she had fallen into this condition. Lord Sri Krishna is naturally very affectionate toward his devotees, and when he saw Rukmini's condition, his heart immediately softened. At once he became merciful to her. The relationship between Rukmini and Krishna was like that between Lakshmi and Narayana. Therefore, Krishna appeared before Rukmini in his four-handed manifestation of Narayana. He got down from the bedstead, lifted her up by her hands, and placing his cooling hands on her face, smoothed the scattered hair on her head. Lord Krishna dried the wet breasts of Rukmini-ji with his hand. Understanding the seriousness of Rukmini's love for him, he embraced her to his chest. The Supreme Personality is expert in putting a thing reasonably for one's understanding, and thus he tried to retract all that he had said before. He is the only resort for all devotees, and so he knows very well how to satisfy his pure devotees. Krishna understood that Rukmini could not follow the statements he had made in a joking way. To counteract her confusion, he spoke as follows. My dear daughter of King Vidarbha, my dear Rukmini, please do not misunderstand me. Don't be unkind to me like this. I know that you are sincerely and seriously attached to me. You're my eternal companion. The words which have affected you so much are not factual. I wanted to irritate you a bit, and I was expecting you to make counter answers to those joking words. Unfortunately, you have taken them seriously. I am very sorry for it. I expected that your red lips would tremble in anger when you heard my statement and that you would chastise me with many words. O perfection of love, I never expected that your condition would be like this. I expected that you would cast your blinking glance upon me in retaliation, and I would thus be able to see your beautiful face in that angry mood. My dear beautiful wife, you know that because we are householders, we are always busy in many household affairs and long for a time when we can enjoy some joking words between us. That is our ultimate gain in household life. End quote. Now Prabhupada says, actually householders work very hard day and night, but all fatigue of the day's labor is minimized as soon as they meet, husband and wife together, and enjoy life in many ways. Lord Krishna wanted to exhibit himself as being like an ordinary householder who delights himself by exchanging joking words with his wife. He therefore repeatedly requested Rukmini not to take those words very seriously. Ever have this experience with your partner where you're just like, you tease them, and it's obviously like an absurd statement? Saying things that don't actually have any bearing in truth, just to get under their skin a little bit. And they know you're kidding and you know you're kidding, but you do it to create a joke. And Krishna is doing that here. He's presenting himself like a common husband. He's just like teasing her, but she's taking it so seriously. In this way, when Lord Krishna pacified Rukmini by his sweet words, she could understand that what he had formerly said was not actually meant seriously, but was spoken to evoke some joking pleasure between themselves. She was therefore pacified by hearing the words of Krishna. Gradually, she was freed from all fear of separation from him, and she began to look at his face very cheerfully, with her naturally smiling face. She said, "My dear lotus-eyed Lord, your statement that we are not a fit combination is completely right. It is not possible for me to come to an equal level with you, for you are the reservoir of all qualities, the unlimited supreme personality of Godhead. How can I be a fit match for you?" So she's going to take everything he said and turn it back on him and say, actually, they're all true. In a very clever way. How can I be a fit match for you? There is no possibility of comparison with you, who are the master of all greatness, the controller of the three qualities and the object of worship for great demigods, like Brahma and Lord Shiva. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a product of the three modes of material nature, which impede the progressive advancement of devotional service. When and where can I be a fit match for you? My dear husband, you have rightly said that you have taken shelter in the water of the sea, as if you were afraid of the kings. But who are the kings of this material world? I do not think that the so-called royal families are kings of the material world. The kings of the material world are the three modes of material nature, who are actually its controllers. You are situated in the core of everyone's heart, where you remain completely aloof from the touch of the three modes of material nature, and there is no doubt about it. You say you always maintain enmity with the worldly kings, but who are the worldly kings? I think the worldly kings are the senses. They are most formidable, and they control everyone. Certainly you maintain enmity with those material senses. You are never under the control of the senses. Rather, you are the controller of the senses. Hrishikesha. My dear Lord, you have said that you are bereft of all royal power, and that is also correct. Not only are you bereft of supremacy over the material world, but even your servants, those who have some attachment to your lotus feet, also give up supremacy over the material world, because they consider the material position to be the darkest region, which checks the progress of spiritual enlightenment. Your servants do not like material supremacy, so what to speak of you? My dear Lord, your statement that you do not act as an ordinary person with a particular aim in life is also perfectly correct. Even your great devotees and servants, known as great sages and saintly persons, remain in such a state that no one can get any clue as to the aim of their lives. Human society considers them crazy and cynical. Their aim of life remains a mystery to the common human being. The lowest of mankind can know neither you nor your servants. A contaminated human being cannot even imagine the pastimes of you and your devotees. O Unlimited One, when the activities and endeavors of your devotees remain a mystery to the common human beings, how can your motives and endeavors be understood by them? All kinds of energies and opulences are engaged in your service, but still they rest at your shelter. Jai. You have described yourself as penniless, but this condition is not poverty. Since there is nothing in existence but you, you do not need to possess anything. You yourself are everything. Unlike others, you do not require to purchase anything extraneously. With you, All contrary things can be adjusted because you are the absolute. You do not possess anything, but no one is richer than you. In the material world, no one can be rich without possessing. Since your lordship is absolute, you can adjust the contradiction of possessing nothing, but at the same time being the richest. In the Vedas, it is stated that although you have no material hands and legs, you accept everything offered in devotion by the devotees. You have no material eyes and ears, but still you can see and hear everything everywhere. Although you do not possess anything, the great demigods who accept prayers and worship from others come and worship you to solicit your mercy. How can you be categorized among the poor? My dear Lord, you have also stated that the richest section of human society does not worship you. This is also correct, because persons who are puffed up with material possessions think of utilizing their property for sense gratification. When a poverty-stricken man becomes rich, he makes a program for sense gratification due to his ignorance of how to utilize his hard-earned money. Under the spell of the external energy, he thinks that his money is properly employed in sense gratification, and thus he neglects to render you transcendental service. My dear Lord, you have stated that persons who possess nothing are very dear to you. Renouncing everything, your devotee wants to possess you only. I see therefore that a great sage like Narada Muni, who does not possess any material property, is still very dear to you, and such persons do not care for anything but your lordship. See how Rukmini is taking all of his statements that were jokes, and she's saying they're all true, but she's using it in such a way to actually glorify him. My dear Lord, you have stated that a marriage between persons equal in social standing, beauty, riches, strength, influence, and renunciation can be a suitable match. But this status of life can be possible only by your grace. You are the supreme perfectional source of all opulences. Whatever opulent status one may have is all derived from you. As described in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmad Yasyataha, you are the supreme source from which everything emanates, the reservoir of all pleasures. Therefore, persons endowed with knowledge desire only to achieve you and nothing else. To achieve your favor, they give up everything, even the transcendental realization of Brahman. You are the supreme ultimate goal of life. You are the reservoir of all interests of the living entities. Those who are actually well motivated desire only you, and for this reason they give up everything to attain success. They therefore deserve to associate with you. In the society of the servitors and served in Krishna consciousness, one is not subjected to the pains and pleasures of material society, which functions according to sex attraction. Therefore, everyone, whether man or woman, should seek to be an associate in your society of servitors and served. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one can excel you, nor can anyone come up to an equal level with you. The perfect social system is that in which you remain in the center, being served as the Supreme, and all others engage as your servitors. In such a perfectly constructed society, everyone can remain eternally happy and blissful. My dear Lord, you have stated that only the beggars praise your glories, and that is also perfectly correct. But who are those beggars? Those beggars are all exalted devotees, liberated personalities, and those in the renounced order of life. They are all great souls and devotees who have no other business than to glorify you. Such great souls forgive even the worst offenders. These so-called beggars execute their spiritual advancement in life, tolerating all tribulations in the material world. My dear husband, do not think that I accepted you as my husband out of my inexperience. Actually, I followed all these great souls. I followed the path of these great beggars and decided to surrender my life unto your lotus feet. You have said that you are penniless, and that is correct, for you distribute yourself completely to these great souls and devotees. Knowing this fact perfectly well, I rejected even such great personalities as Lord Brahma and King Indra. My Lord, the great time factor acts under your direction only. The time factor is so great and powerful that within moments it can affect devastation anywhere within the creation. Considering all these factors, I thought Jarasandha, Shishupala, and similar princes who wanted to marry me to be no more important than ordinary insects. My dear all-powerful son of Vasudeva, your statement that you have taken shelter within the water of the ocean, out of fear of all the great princes, is quite unsuitable, for my experience with you contradicts this. I have actually seen that you kidnapped me forcibly in the presence of all these princes. At the time of my marriage ceremony, simply by giving a jerk to the string of your bow, you very easily drove the others away and kindly gave me shelter at your lotus feet. I still remember vividly how you kidnapped me in the same way that a lion forcibly takes its share of hunted booty driving away all small animals within the twinkling of an eye. My dear lotus-eyed Lord, I cannot understand your statement that women and other persons who have taken shelter under your lotus feet pass their days only in bereavement. From the history of the world, we can see that princes like Anga, Prithu, Partha, Yayati, and Gaya were all great emperors of the world, and there were no competitors to their exalted positions. But, in order to achieve the favor of your lotus feet, they renounced their exalted positions and entered the forest to practice penances and austerities. When they voluntarily accepted such a position, accepting your lotus feet as all in all, does it mean that they were in lamentation and bereavement? My dear Lord, you have advised me that I can still select another from the princely order and divorce myself from your companionship. But my dear Lord, it is perfectly well known to me that you are the reservoir of all good qualities. Great saintly persons like Narada Muni are always engaged simply in glorifying your transcendental characteristics. Someone who simply takes shelter of such a saintly person immediately becomes freed from all material contamination. And when it comes in direct contact with your service, the goddess of fortune agrees to bestow all her blessings. Under the circumstances, what woman who has once heard of your glories from authoritative sources, and has somehow or other relished the nectarian fragrance of your lotus feet, would be foolish enough to agree to marry someone of this material world, who is always afraid of death, disease, old age, and rebirth? I have therefore accepted your lotus feet not without consideration, but after mature and deliberate decision. My dear Lord, you are the master of the three worlds. You can fulfill all the desires of all your devotees, in this world and the next, because you are the supreme soul of everyone. I have therefore selected you as my husband, considering you to be the only fit personality. You may throw me in any species of life according to the reactions of my fruitive activities, and I haven't the least concern for this. My only ambition is that I may always remain fast to your lotus feet, for you can deliver your devotees from illusory material existence, and are always prepared to distribute yourself to your devotees. My dear Lord, you have advised me to select one of the princes, such as Shishupal, Jarasandha, or Dantavakra, but what is their position in this world? They are always engaged in hard labor to maintain their household life, just like the bulls working hard day and night with an oil-pressing machine. They are compared to asses, beasts of burden. They are always dishonored like dogs, and they are miserly like cats. They have sold themselves like slaves to their wives. Any unfortunate woman who has never heard of your glories may accept such a man as her husband. But a woman who has learned about you, that you are praised not only in this world, but in the halls of the great demigods, like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, will not accept anyone besides you as her husband. A man within this material world is just a dead body. In fact, superficially, the living entity is covered by this body, which is nothing but a bag of skin, decorated with a beard and mustache, hairs on the body, nails on the fingers, and hairs on the head. Within this decorated bag are bunches of muscles, bundles of bones, and pools of blood, always mixed with stool, urine, mucus, bile, and polluted air, and enjoyed by different kinds of insects and germs. A foolish woman accepts such a dead body as her husband, and in sheer misunderstanding loves him as her dear companion. This is possible only because such a woman has never relished the ever blissful fragrance of your lotus feet. My dear lotus-eyed husband, you are self-satisfied. You do not care whether or not I am beautiful or qualified. You are not at all concerned about it. Therefore, your non-attachment for me is not at all astonishing. It is quite natural. You cannot be attracted to any woman, however exalted. You cannot be attached to any woman, however exalted her position and beauty. Whether you are attached to me or not, may my devotion and attention be always engaged at your lotus feet. The material mode of passion is also your creation, so when you passionately glance upon me, I accept it as the greatest boon of my life. I am ambitious only for such auspicious moments. After hearing Rukmini's statement and her clarification of each and every word he had used to arouse her anger of love toward him, Krishna addressed Rukmini as follows. My dear chaste wife, my dear princess, I expected such an explanation from you, and only for this purpose did I speak all those joking words, so that you might be cheated of the real point of view. Now my real purpose has been served. The wonderful explanation you have given of it, my every word is completely factual and approved by me. O most beautiful Rukmini, you are my dearmost wife. I am greatly pleased to understand how much love you have for me. Please take it for granted that, No matter what ambition and desire you might have, and no matter what you might expect from me, I am always at your service. And it is a fact also that my devotees, my dearmost friends and servitors, are always free from material contamination, even though they are not inclined to ask me for such liberation. My devotees never desire anything from me except to be engaged in my service, and yet, because they are completely dependent upon me, even if they are found to ask something from me, that is not material. Such ambitions and desires, instead of becoming the cause of material bondage, become the source of liberation from this material world. My dear chaste and pious wife, I have tested on the basis of strict chastity your love for your husband, and you have passed the examination most successfully. I have purposely agitated you by speaking many words not applicable to your character, but I am surprised to see that not a pinch of your devotion to me has been deviated from its fixed position. My dear wife, I am the bestower of all benedictions, even up to the standard of liberation from this material world, and it is I only who can stop the continuation of material existence and call one back home, back to Godhead. One whose devotion for me is adulterated worships me for some material benefit, just to keep himself in the world of material happiness, culminating in the pleasure of sex life. One who engages himself in severe penances and austerities just to attain this material happiness is certainly under the illusion of my external energy. Persons who are engaged in my devotional service simply for the purpose of material gain and sense gratification are certainly very foolish. For material happiness based on sex life is available in the most abominable species of life, such as the hogs and dogs. No one should try to approach me for such happiness, which is available even if one is put into a hellish condition of life. It is better, therefore, for persons who are simply after material happiness, and not after me, to remain in that hellish condition. Material contamination is so strong that everyone is working very hard day and night for material happiness. The show of religion, austerity, penance, humanitarianism, philanthropy, politics, science, everything is aimed at realizing some material benefit. For the immediate success of material benefit, materialistic persons generally worship different demigods. And under the spell of material propensities, they sometimes take to the devotional service of the Lord. But sometimes it so happens that, if a person sincerely serves the Lord and at the same time maintains material ambitions, the Lord very kindly removes the source of material happiness. Not finding any recourse in material happiness, the devotee then engages himself absolutely in pure devotional service. Lord Krishna continued, my dear best of queens, I clearly understand that you have no material ambition. Your only purpose is to serve me, and you have long been engaged in unalloyed service. Exemplary unalloyed devotional service not only can bestow upon the devotee liberation from this material world, but it also promotes him to the spiritual world, to be eternally engaged in my service. Persons too much addicted to material happiness cannot render such service. Women whose hearts are polluted and full of material desires devise various means of sense gratification while outwardly showing themselves to be great devotees. My dear honored wife, although I have thousands of wives, I do not think that any one of them can love me more than you. The practical proof of your extraordinary position is that although you had never seen me before our marriage and you had simply heard about me from a third person, still your faith in me was so much fixed that even in the presence of many qualified, rich, and beautiful men of the royal order, you did not select any one of them as your husband, but insisted on having me. You neglected all the princes present, and very politely you sent me a confidential letter, inviting me to kidnap you. While I was kidnapping you, your elder brother Rukmi violently protested and fought with me. As a result of the fight, I defeated him, mercilessly, and disfigured his body. At the time of Aniruddha's marriage, when we were all playing chess, there was another fight with your brother Rukmi on a controversial verbal point, and my elder brother Balaram finally killed him. I was surprised to see that you did not utter even a word of protest over this incident. Because of your great anxiety that you might be separated from me, you suffered all the consequences without speaking even a word. As a result of this great silence, my dear wife, you have purchased me for all time. I have come eternally under your control. You sent your messenger inviting me to kidnap you, and when you found that there was a little delay in my arriving on the spot, you saw the whole world as vacant. At that time, you concluded that your beautiful body was not fit to be touched by anyone else. Therefore, thinking I was not coming, you decided to commit suicide and immediately end that body. My dear Rukmini, such great and exalted love for me will always remain within my soul. As far as I am concerned, it is not within my power to repay you for your unalloyed devotion to me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna certainly has no business being anyone's husband, or son, or father, because everything belongs to him, and everyone is under his control. He does not require anyone's help for his satisfaction. He is Atma-Rama, self-satisfied. He can derive all pleasure by himself without anyone's help. But when the Lord descends to play the part of a human being, he plays a role either as a husband, son, friend, or enemy in full perfection. As such, when he was playing as the perfect husband of the queens, especially of Rukminiji, he enjoyed conjugal love in complete perfection. According to Vedic culture, although polygamy is allowed, at least in the previous age, no longer, none of one's wives should be ill-treated. In other words, one may take many wives only if he is able to satisfy them all equally as an ideal householder. Otherwise, it is not allowed. Again, to be perfectly clear, in Kali Yuga, it is not at all allowed. Lord Krishna is the world teacher. Therefore, even though he had no need for a wife, he expanded himself into as many forms as he had wives. And he lived with them as an ideal householder, observing the regulative principles, rules, and commitments in accordance with the Vedic injunctions and the social laws and customs of society. For each of his 16,108 wives, he simultaneously maintained different palaces, different establishments, and different atmospheres. Thus, the Lord, although one, exhibited himself as 16,108 ideal householders. Jai Krishna Book Ki Jai. Woo! Yeah. All right. Any reflections?
The whole time I was here listening to that, I was just thinking of conversations that you have with your loved one. You know, like you know that they love you. You turn to them and say, "Do you love me? No, you don't love me." Like just like you want that affirmation and
Yeah.
you know that play.
You bait them.
And yeah, you bait them, you poke them, you know, all of those things. And that was you know what I was thinking about, you know, during that whole exchange. I mean, at first I was wondering why did he want to anger her, but as you read on, I got it.
Yeah, you know when you love somebody enough that you feel safe with them, you actually feel like it's fun to tease them. You see this with friends too. It's like the profession of a friend to just give their friend a hard time. It's like that's what they do. Just give them a hard time. It doesn't cross a line to malice. It's like if a stranger said the things to somebody that a friend says to them, it would sound really rude. But a friend, you can say all those things. And when you're in an intimate relationship that's close enough, you can also like really just get some digs in. So Krishna was really going out there to that place where he's like, I'm sure she'll get it. But she was so humble in her love for him that she actually thought, oh my goodness, does this mean he's trying to leave? And then he had to. Anyway, I've always liked that interplay.
Yeah, that's what I noticed was the humility, and also it's interesting how Krishna was trying to give her a hard time. However, everything he was saying was about him. Like it was like he was saying bad quote unquote things about himself.
Yeah.
You know, which also I was like, oh, this is showing his humility, and right, like knowing that he was speaking like sort of blasphemy about himself, about Krishna, and how that would upset with meeting one who loves and has so much devotion for him. I see the interplay.
Yeah.
But I also was thinking about the humility that was present within him and then also within her.
Yeah. He's so renounced. And then she kind of just defeats him by actually turning around and saying, actually, no, you're the greatest. And I'm insignificant for you. Hard to hear those in the room. Yeah, I'll reflect. That was Kishori. She was saying that she appreciated how although Krishna was giving her Rukmini a hard time, everything he was saying was about himself. And he was just showing so much humility and just kind of apparently putting himself down. And it was actually kind of an elegant way to create anger because he wasn't actually attacking her at all.
Right.
He was just saying like, yeah, you know, if you want, it's not too late. You can marry someone else. I'm kind of a loser. I'm not good enough for you. I don't think I'm worth your time. And she turned it all around, and he's being so humble, but she actually defeated him in humility by saying, no, actually, you're right. There can be no equal for you because you're the greatest. It's not that everyone else is better than you. It's that you're beyond everyone else. She actually turned it all around and made it a deep expression of humble love. So Kishore was appreciating that. Any other reflections?
It felt a little passive aggressive, to be quite honest.
Yeah, on Krishna's part.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's
Like
just,
fishing for her to come back and say, "Oh, you're the greatest." Just funny.
yeah, thank you. Okay, let's go into chapter 61, the genealogy of the family of Krishna. Krishna had 16,108 wives, and in each of them he begot 10 sons, all of them equal to their father, in the opulences of strength, beauty, wisdom, fame, wealth, and renunciation, like father, like son. All the 16,108 wives of Krishna were princesses. And when each saw that Krishna was always present in her respective palace and did not leave home, she considered Krishna a hand-packed husband who was very much attached to her. Every one of them thought that Krishna was her very obedient husband, but actually Krishna had no attraction for any of them, although each thought that she was the only wife of Krishna and was very, very dear to him. Lord Krishna, being Atma Rama, self-sufficient, felt neither attraction nor enmity toward any one of them. He was equal to all the wives and treated them as a perfect husband would, just to please them. For him there was no need of even a single wife. In fact, since they were women, the wives could not understand the exalted position of Krishna nor the truths about him. All the princesses who were wives of Krishna were exquisitely beautiful, and each one of them was attracted by Krishna's eyes, which were just like lotus petals, and by his beautiful face, long arms, beautiful ears, pleasing smile, humorous talk, and sweet words. Influenced by these features of Krishna, they all used to dress themselves very attractively, desiring to attract him by their feminine bodily appeal. They exhibited their feminine characteristics by smiling and moving their eyebrows, thus shooting sharp arrows of conjugal love just to awaken Krishna's lusty desires for them. Still, they could not arouse Krishna's mind or his sexual appetite. This means that Krishna never had any sexual relations with any of his many wives, save and except to beget children. The queens of Dwarka were so fortunate that they got Lord Sri Krishna as their husband and personal companion, although he is not approachable by exalted demigods like Brahma. Lord Krishna and his queens remained together as husband and wife, and Krishna as an ideal husband treated them in such a way that at every moment there was an increase of transcendental bliss in their smiling exchanges, talking and mixing together. Each and every wife had hundreds and thousands of maidservants. Yet when Krishna entered the palaces of his thousands of wives, each one of them used to receive Krishna personally by seating him in a nice chair, worshipping him with all requisite paraphernalia, personally washing his lotus feet, offering him betel nuts, massaging his legs to relieve them of fatigue, fanning him to make him comfortable, offering all kinds of scented sandalwood pulp, oils and aromatics, putting flower garlands on his neck, dressing his hair, getting him to lie down in the bed and assisting him in taking his bath. Thus they served Krishna always, in every respect, especially when Krishna was eating. They always engaged in the service of the Lord. Each of Krishna's 16,108 queens had 10 sons. The sons of the first 8 queens are listed as follows. Here we go, genealogy. By Rukmini, Krishna had the following 10 sons: Pradyumna, Charudeshna, Sudeshna, Charudeha, Sucharu, Charugupta, Padracharu, Charuchandra, Vicharu, and Charu. None of them were inferior in their qualities to their divine father, Lord Krishna. The name of Satyabhama's 10 sons are as follows: Bhanu, Subhanu, Svarbhanu, Prabhanu, Bhanuman, Chandrabhanu, Bruhadbhanu, Atibhanu, Shribhanu, and Pratibhanu. The 10 sons of the next queen, Jambavati, were headed by Samba. Their names are as follows: Samba, Sumitra, Purujit, Shatajit, Sahasrajit, Vijaya, Chitraketu, Vasuman, Dravida, and Kratu. Lord Krishna was specifically very affectionate to the sons of Jambavati. The 10 sons Lord Krishna had by his wife Satya, the daughter of King Nagnajit, were as follows: Veera, Chandra, Ashwasena, Chitragu, Vegavan, Vrusha, Ama, Shanku, Vasu, and Kunti. Amongst all of them, Kunti was very powerful. Krishna's 10 sons by Kalandi were as follows: Shuta, Kavi, Vrusha, Veera, Subahu, Bhadra, Shanti, Darsha, Purnamasa, and Somaka, the youngest son. The 10 sons Lord Krishna begot in his next wife, Lakshmana, the daughter of the king of Madras province, were named Praghosha, Gatravan, Singha, Bala, Prabala, Urdhaka, Mahashakti, Saha, Oja, and Aparajita. The 10 sons of his next wife Mitravinda were as follows: Vrika, Harsha, Anila, Grutra, Vartana, Unnada, Mahangsa, Pavana, Vahni, and Kshute. The 10 sons of his next wife, Bhadra, were named Sangramajit, Bruhatsena, Shura, Praharana, Arijit, Jaya, Subhadra, Vama, Ayur, and Satyaka. Besides these 8 chief queens, Krishna had 16,100 other wives, and all of them also had 10 sons each. The eldest son of Rukmini, Pradyumna, was married with Mayavati from his very birth, and afterwards he married Rukmavati, the daughter of his maternal uncle, Rukmi. From Rukmavati, Pradyumna had a son named Aniruddha. In this way, Krishna's family, Krishna and his wives, along with their sons and grandsons and even great-grandsons, all combined together to include very nearly 1 billion family members. Again, only possible in the spiritual energy. Rukmi, the elder brother of Krishna's first wife, Rukmini, was greatly harassed and insulted in his fight with Krishna. But on the request of Rukmini, his life was spared. Since then, Rukmi held a great grudge against Krishna and was always inimical toward him. Nevertheless, his daughter married Krishna's son, and his granddaughter married Krishna's grandson, Aniruddha. This fact appeared a little astonishing to Maharaj Parikshit when he heard it from Shukadeva Goswami, and the king addressed him as follows: I am surprised that Rukmini and Krishna, who were so greatly inimical to one another, could again be united by marital relationships between their descendants. Parikshit Maharaj was curious about the mystery of this incident, and therefore he inquired from Shukadeva Goswami. Because Shukadeva Goswami was a perfect yogi, nothing was hidden from his power of insight. A perfect yogi like Shukadeva Goswami can see past, present, and future in all details. Therefore, from such yogis or mystics, nothing can be concealed. When Parikshit Maharaj inquired from Shukadeva Goswami answered as follows: Pradyumna, the eldest son of Krishna, born of Rukmini, was Cupid himself. He was so beautiful and attractive that the daughter of Rukmi, namely Rukmavati, could not select any husband other than Pradyumna during her Swayamvara. Therefore, in that selection meeting, she garlanded Pradyumna in the presence of all the other princes. When there was a fight among the princes, Pradyumna came out victorious, and therefore Rukmi was obliged to offer his beautiful daughter to Pradyumna. Although enmity always blazed in Rukmi's heart because of his having been insulted by Krishna's kidnapping of his sister Rukmini, Rukmi could not resist consenting to the marriage ceremony just to please Rukmini when his daughter selected Pradyumna as her husband. And so Pradyumna became the son-in-law as well as the nephew of Rukmi. Besides the 10 sons described above, Rukmini had one beautiful daughter with big eyes, and she was married to Kritavarma's son, whose name was Bali. Although Rukmi was a veritable enemy of Krishna, he had great affection for his sister Rukmini and wanted to please her in all respects. On this account, when Rukmini's grandson Aniruddha was to be married, Rukmi offered his granddaughter Rochana to Aniruddha. Such a marriage between immediate cousins is not very much sanctioned by the Vedic culture. But in order to please Rukmini, Rukmi offered his daughter and granddaughter to the son and grandson of Krishna respectively. In this way, when the negotiation of the marriage of Aniruddha with Rochana was complete, a big marriage party accompanied Aniruddha and started from Dwarka. They traveled until they reached Bhojakarta, which Rukmi had colonized after his sister had been kidnapped by Krishna. This marriage party was led by the grandfather, namely Lord Krishna, accompanied by Lord Balaram, and included Krishna's first wife, Rukmini, his son Pradyumna, Jambavati's son Samba, and many other relatives and family members. They reached the town of Bhojakarta, and the marriage ceremony was peacefully performed. The king of Kalinga was a friend of Rukmi's and gave him the ill advice to play chess with Balaram and thus defeat him in a bet. Among Kshatriya kings, gambling on chess was not uncommon. If someone challenged a Kshatriya to play on the chessboard, the Kshatriya could not refuse the challenge. Sri Balaramaji was not a very expert chess player, and this was known to the king of Kalinga. So Rukmi was advised to retaliate against the family members of Krishna by challenging Balaram to play chess. Although not an expert chess player, Sri Balaramji was very enthusiastic in sporting activities. He accepted Rukmi's challenge and sat down to play. Betting was with gold coins, and Balaram first of all challenged with 100 coins, then 1,000 coins, then 10,000 coins. Each time Balaram lost, and Rukmi was victorious. Sri Balaram's losing the game was an opportunity for the king of Kalinga to criticize Krishna and Balaram. Thus the king of Kalinga was talking jokingly while purposely showing his teeth to Balaram. Because Balaram was the loser in the game, he was a little intolerant of the sarcastic joking words and became somewhat agitated. Rukmi again challenged Balaram and made a bet of 100,000 gold coins. But fortunately this time, Balaram won. Nonetheless, out of cunningness, Rukmi claimed that Balaram was the loser and that he himself had won. Because of this lie, Balaramji became most angry with Rukmi. His agitation was so sudden and great that it appeared like a tidal wave in the ocean on a full moon day. Balaram's eyes are naturally reddish, and when he becomes agitated and angry, his eyes become more reddish. This time he challenged and made a bet of 100 million coins. Again, Balaram was the winner, according to the rules of chess, but Rukmi again cunningly claimed that he had won. Rukmi appealed to the princes present, and he especially mentioned the name of the king of Kalinga. During the dispute, there was a voice from the sky, and it announced that for all honest purposes, Balaram was the actual winner of this game, that he was being abused, and that the statement of Rukmi that he had won was absolutely false. In spite of this divine voice, Rukmi insisted that Balaram had lost, and by his persistence, it appeared that he had death upon his head. Falsely puffed up by the ill advice of his friend, he did not give much importance to the oracle, and he began to criticize Balaramji. He said, "My dear Balaramji, you two brothers, cowherd boys only, may be very expert in tending cows, but how can you be expert in playing chess or shooting arrows on the battlefield? These arts are well known only to the princely order." Hearing this kind of pinching talk by Rukmi, and hearing the loud laughter of all the other princes present there, Lord Balaram became as agitated as burning cinders. I sense incoming purification for somebody. He immediately took his club in his hand and without further talk struck Rukmi on the head. From that one blow, Rukmi fell down immediately and was dead and gone. Thus, Rukmi was killed by Balaram on that auspicious occasion of Aniruddha's marriage. These things are not very uncommon in Kshatriya society. The king of Kalinga, afraid that he would be the next one attacked, fled from the scene. Before he could escape even a few steps, however, Balaram immediately captured him, and because the king had always shown his teeth while criticizing Balaram and Krishna, Balaram broke all the king's teeth with his club. The other princes supporting the king of Kalinga and Rukmi were also captured, and Balaram beat them with his club, breaking their legs and hands. They did not try to retaliate, but thought it wise to run away from the bloody scene. During this strife between Balaram and Rukmi, Lord Krishna did not utter a word, for he knew that if he supported Balaram, Rukmi would be unhappy, and if he said that the killing of Rukmi was unjust, then Balaram would be unhappy. Therefore, Lord Krishna was silent on the death of his brother-in-law, Rukmi, on the occasion of his grandson's marriage. He did not disturb his affectionate relationship with either Balaram or Rukmini. After this, the bride and bridegroom were ceremoniously seated on the chariot, and they started for Dwarka, accompanied by the bridegroom's party. The bridegroom's party was always protected by Lord Krishna, the killer of the Madhu demon. Thus they left Rukmi's kingdom, Bhojakarta, and happily started for Dwarka. Wow. There it is. Any reflections before we go to chapter 62?
This be a good chapter to think about if you were curious about names of what to name your pet or
Good chapter for names.
child or.
We have a total of 80 names
Yeah.
named. Yeah.
Wait, and had that been described earlier, how Balaram killed Rukmi? Because it just had been mentioned, but was this the first time it was actually described?
Yeah, it had been mentioned earlier that Balaram killed Rukmi, but it had
Yeah.
not been described until now.
We have one more in us?
I think we can get there. What do you say? Chapter 62, the meeting of Usha and Aniruddha. The meeting of Aniruddha and Usha, which caused a great fight between Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva, is very mysterious and interesting. Maharaj Parikshit was eager to hear the whole story, and thus Shukadev narrated it. My dear king, you must have heard the name of King Bali. He was a great devotee who gave away in charity all he had, namely the whole world, to Lord Vamana, the incarnation of Vishnu, as a dwarf Brahmana. King Bali had 100 sons, and the eldest of all of them was Banasura. This great hero Banasura, born of Maharaj Bali, was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and was always ready to render service unto him. Because of his devotion, Banasura achieved a great position in society, and he was honored in every respect. Actually, he was very intelligent and liberal also, and his activities are all praiseworthy because he never deviated from his promise and word of honor. He was very truthful and fixed in his vow. In those days, He was ruling over the city of Shonatapura. By the grace of Lord Shiva, Banasura had 1,000 arms, and he became so powerful that even demigods like King Indra were serving him most obediently. Long ago, Lord Shiva was dancing in a celebrated fashion called Tandava Nritya, for which he is known as Natharaj. At that time, Banasura helped Lord Shiva in his dancing by rhythmically beating drums with his 1,000 hands. Lord Shiva is known as Ashutosha, very easily pleased, and he is also very affectionate to his devotees. He is a great protector for persons who take shelter of him, and is the master of all living entities in the material world. Being pleased with Banasura, he said, "Whatever you desire you can have from me, for I am very much pleased with you." Banasura replied, "My dear Lord, if you please, you can remain in my city just to protect me from the hands of my enemies." Once upon a time, Banasura came to offer his respects to Lord Shiva. By touching the lotus feet of Lord Shiva with his helmet, which was shining like the sun globe, he offered his obeisances unto him. While offering his respectful obeisances, Banasura said, "My dear Lord, anyone who has not fulfilled his ambition will be able to do so by taking shelter of your lotus feet, which are just like a desire tree, from which one can take anything he desires. My dear Lord, you have given me 1,000 arms, but I do not know what to do with them. They are simply a burden. I cannot use them properly in fighting, since I cannot find anyone competent to fight with me, except your lordship, the original father of the material world. Sometimes I feel a great tendency to fight with my arms, and I go out to find a suitable warrior. Unfortunately, everyone flees, knowing my extraordinary power. Being baffled at not finding a match, I satisfy the itching of my arms by beating them against the mountains. In this way, I tear many great mountains to pieces." Lord Shiva realized his benediction had become troublesome for Banasura and addressed him thus: "You rascal, you are very eager to fight, but since you have no one to fight with, you are distressed. Although you think that there is no one in the world to oppose you except me, I say that you will eventually find such a competent person. At that time, your days will come to an end, and your flag of victory will no longer fly. Then you will see your false prestige smashed to pieces." After hearing Lord Shiva's statement, Banasura, who was very much puffed up with his power, became elated that he would meet someone able to smash him to pieces. Think of the implication here. Having a certain strength or opulence or ability is actually a burden in a way. People who have like a lot of material intelligence, it's a burden in a way because they have to use it. They have to have some material puzzle to work with. They're not satisfied with simple truth. They have to engage in analysis and philosophizing. If you have this burden of powerful muscles, what's the point if you can't use them? It's like driving a really fast car. You see these people who have these incredibly well-tuned, powerful cars. It's just a burden because they can never really accelerate on the city roads. So materialists, for whom an opulence is just something to use for their own sense gratification, for them everything is a burden because they have to keep using them. They have to keep applying them. So Banasura was the most powerful person, but he was just so frustrated he couldn't fight anybody. So when he finds out he's going to get crushed, he's like, "Oh great, finally a fight." Banasura then returned home with great pleasure, and he always awaited the day when the suitable fighter would come to cut down his strength. He was such a foolish demon. It appears that foolish demoniac human beings, when unnecessarily overpowered with material opulences, want to exhibit these opulences. And such foolish people feel satisfaction when these opulences are exhausted. The idea is that they do not know how to expend their energy for right causes, being unaware of the benefit of Krishna consciousness. Actually, there are two classes of men. One is Krishna conscious, the other is non-Krishna conscious. The non-Krishna conscious men are generally devoted to demigods, whereas the Krishna conscious men are devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna conscious persons utilize everything for the service of the Lord. The non-Krishna conscious person utilizes everything for sense gratification. For his own satisfaction, Banasura was very eager to utilize his extraordinary power to fight. Not finding any combatant, he struck his powerful arms against the mountains, breaking them to pieces. In contrast, Arjuna also possessed extraordinary powers for fighting, but he utilized them only for Krishna. Banasura had a very beautiful daughter whose name was Usha. When she attained the age of marriage and was sleeping amongst her many girlfriends, she dreamt one night that Aniruddha was by her side and that she was enjoying a conjugal relationship with him, although she had never actually seen him or heard of him before. She awoke from her dream exclaiming very loudly, "My dear beloved, where are you?" Being exposed to her friends in this way, she became a little bit ashamed. One of Usha's girlfriends was Chitralekha, who was the daughter of Banasura's prime minister. Chitralekha and Usha were intimate friends, and out of great curiosity, Chitralekha asked, "My dear beautiful princess, as of yet you are not married to any young boy, nor have you seen any boys until now. So I'm surprised that you're exclaiming like this. Who are you searching after? Who is your suitable match?" Usha replied, "My dear friend, in my dream I saw a nice young man who is very, very beautiful. His complexion is swarthy, his eyes are just like lotus petals, and he is dressed in yellow garments. His arms are very long, and his general body features are so pleasing that any young girl would be attracted. I feel much pride in saying that this beautiful young man was kissing me, and I was very much enjoying the nectar of his kissing. But I'm sorry to inform you that just after this he disappeared, and I have been thrown into the whirlpool of disappointment. I am very anxious to find this wonderful young man, the desired lord of my heart." Chitralekha immediately replied, "I can understand your bereavement, and I can assure you that if this boy is within the three worlds, I must find him for your satisfaction. If you can identify him from your dream, I shall bring you peace of mind. Now let me draw you some pictures for you to inspect, and as soon as you find the picture of your desired husband, let me know. It doesn't matter where he is, I know the art of bringing him here. So as soon as you identify him, I shall immediately arrange for it." Chitralekha while talking, began to draw many pictures of the demigods. Then pictures of the Gandharvas, Siddhas, Chananas, Pandagas, Daityas, Vidyadharas, and Yakshas, as well as many pictures of human beings. The Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures prove definitively that on each and every planet there are living entities of different varieties. Therefore, it is foolish to assert that there are no living entities but those on this earth. Chitralekha drew many pictures. Among the human beings she drew were the members of the Vrishni dynasty, including Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, Shudasena, the grandfather of Krishna, Shri Balaramji, Lord Krishna, and many others. When Usha saw the picture of Pradyumna, she became a little bashful. But when she saw the picture of Aniruddha, she became so bashful that she immediately lowered her head and smiled, having found the man she was seeking. She identified the picture to Chitralekha as the man who had stolen her heart. Chitralekha was a great mystic yogini, and as soon as Usha identified the picture, Chitralekha could immediately understand that it was of Aniruddha, a grandson of Krishna's. Although neither she nor Usha had previously known his name or even seen him, that very night she traveled in outer space, and within a very short time reached the city of Dwarka, which was well protected by Lord Krishna. She entered the palace and found Aniruddha sleeping in his bedroom on a very opulent bed. Chitralekha, by her mystic power, immediately brought Aniruddha, in that sleeping condition, to the city of Shonatapura so that Usha might see her desired husband. Usha immediately bloomed in happiness and began to enjoy the company of Aniruddha with great satisfaction. The palace in which Usha and Chitralekha lived was so well fortified that it was impossible for any male to either enter or see inside. Usha and Aniruddha lived together in the palace, and day after day, Usha's love for Aniruddha grew 4 times upon 4. Usha pleased Aniruddha with valuable garments, flowers, garlands, scents, and incense. By his bedside sitting place were other paraphernalia for residential purposes, nice drinks such as milk and sherbet, and nice edibles which could be chewed or swallowed. Above all, she pleased him with sweet words and very obliging service. Usha worshipped Aniruddha as if he were the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By her excellent service, Usha made Aniruddha forget all other things, and was able to draw his attention and love to her without deviation. In such an atmosphere of love and service, Aniruddha practically forgot himself and could not recall how many days he'd been away from his real home. In due course of time, Usha exhibited some bodily symptoms by which it could be understood that she was having intercourse with a male friend. The symptoms were so prominent that her actions could no longer be concealed from anyone. Usha was always cheerful in the association of Aniruddha, and she did not know the bounds of her satisfaction. The housekeeper and the guards of the palace could guess very easily that she was having relations with the male friend. And without waiting for further developments, all of them informed their master, Banasura. In the Vedic culture, an unmarried girl having association with a male is the greatest disgrace to the family, and so the caretakers cautiously informed their master that Usha was showing symptoms, indicating a disgraceful association. The servants informed their master that they were not at all neglectful in guarding the house, being alert day and night against any young man who might enter. They were so careful that a male could not even see what was going on there, and so they were surprised that she had become contaminated. Since they could not trace out the reason for it, they submitted their whole situation before the master. Banasura was shocked to understand that his daughter Usha was no longer a virgin maiden. This weighed heavily on his heart, and without delay he rushed toward the palace where Usha was living. There he saw Usha and Aniruddha were sitting together and talking. They looked very beautiful together, Aniruddha being the son of Pradyumna, who was Cupid himself. Banasura saw his daughter Aniruddha as a suitable match, yet for family prestige, he did not like the combination at all. Banasura could not understand who the boy actually was. He appreciated the fact that Usha could not have selected any one of the three worlds more beautiful. Aniruddha's complexion was brilliant and swarthy. He was dressed in yellow garments and had eyes just like lotus petals. His arms were very long, and he had nice, curling, bluish hair. The glaring rays of his glittering earrings and the beautiful smile on his lips were certainly captivating. Still, Banasura was very angry. When Banasura saw him, Aniruddha was engaged in playing with Usha. Aniruddha was nicely dressed, and Usha had garlanded him with various beautiful flowers. The reddish kumkuma powder put on the breasts of women was spotted here and there on the garland, indicating that Usha had embraced him. Banasura was struck with wonder that even in his presence, Aniruddha was peacefully sitting in front of Usha. Aniruddha knew, however, that his would-be father-in-law was not at all pleased, and that he was gathering many soldiers in the palace to attack him. Thus, not finding any other weapon, Aniruddha took hold of a big iron rod and stood up before Banasura and his soldiers. He firmly took a posture indicating that if attacked, he would strike all the soldiers down. Banasura and his company of soldiers saw the boy standing before them just like the superintendent of death with his invincible rod. Now, under the order of Banasura, the soldiers from all sides attempted to capture and arrest him. When they dared to come before him, Aniruddha struck them with the rod, breaking their heads, legs, arms, and thighs, and one after another they fell to the ground. He killed them, just as the leader of a pack of boars kills barking dogs, one after another. In this way, Banasura was able to escape the palace. In this way, Aniruddha was able to escape the palace. Banasura knew various arts of fighting, and by the grace of Lord Shiva, he knew how to arrest his enemy by the use of a Naga Pasha, snake noose. And thus he seized Aniruddha as he came out of the palace. When Usha received the news that her father had arrested Aniruddha, she was overwhelmed with grief and confusion. Tears glided down from her eyes, and being unable to check herself, she began to cry very loudly. Shri Krishna Book Ki Jai. We'll have resolution next week. This is going to be a big fight. Go ahead.
How did we get here?
How did we get here?
Yeah.
Aniruddha is the grandson of Krishna.
Okay, so they gave the genealogy, and then now they're telling a story specifically about one of the grandsons.
Yeah, Pradyumna was one of the sons.
Yeah.
Pradyumna was the one who was lost at birth
Mhm.
and ended up in a fish. And then this cook found him and gave him to his helper, who was Maya. And Maya was actually his wife from another life.
Right.
And she recognized him, raised him, reminded him of his heritage. He defeated the demon that was actually housing them, came back to his mother and father, and there was a huge, beautiful emotional reunion. That's Pradyumna, who was a reincarnation of Cupid. Pradyumna's son is Aniruddha, who this girl dreamt of and fell in love with. And her friend, who has yogic powers, teleported him. They're in love. No one knows how he got there. She's pregnant. Her father is like flipping out. Yeah, she's pregnant. That's the guards recognized something was going on. She's living in the palace quarters, but she's pregnant. And her father is flipping out. There's a fight, and he's been captured. TBC, to be continued.
That's the ultimate drama right there.
Super dramatic. Yeah.
Thanks for that recap.
Okay. Let's get some questions, comments, reflections. Super far out, right? What else did we have? We had the descendants of Krishna. We had Balaram killing Rukmi when Rukmi tried to cheat him many times. And we had another chapter before that. Was chapter 60?
The genealogy.
Oh, the talks between Krishna and Rukmini was the other one.
Yeah. It's like that was their way of flirting.
Like kind of flirting, yeah. Tanya.
Yeah, I feel like these dramatic events are happening so fast and furious, or at least that's how it appears as we're reading them, that I'm like, when we first started reading this book ages ago, it seems, in a good way, Like there was a lesson in every demon, there was a message in every story, and I'm sure there still is, but like it's getting a little bit harder to understand what are the lessons of each of these crazy things that are happening.
Yeah. And from a certain point of view, one answer to that is the lesson is that Krishna is um, variegated, and he has a variety of pastimes. And it's like the lesson is just the experience we get from appreciating those pastimes. It's not necessarily like, okay, this one is oh, that's the anger demon, and when you kill him, it's like, okay, getting purified of anger. Krishna and even his family now, some of them, Pradyumna and Aniruddha at least, are displaying this kind of like superhuman independence, right? Like, how does it make any sense to have a family with 1 billion people? How is it possible for someone to dream of Krishna's grandson and fall in love with him so completely that the pastime unfolds the way it does? And yet there it is. And then he's going to be arrested. It's like, it's just a trip. It's just a really far out dramatic thing. It's not necessarily that there's like a lesson, because, you know,
But rather it's like learning about Krishna so that we can love him more.
yeah,
I don't know if they can hear me.
just like learning about Krishna to increase our appreciation for him. That's one way of looking at it. But yeah, thanks for that reflection.
Thank you.
It does seem like a lot of things happening because we're going chapter after chapter. They're all very different.
Yeah.
Sometimes like Krishna's not even in this chapter. It's Krishna's grandson. So it seems like their whole lives are like every hour, every day is just this giant soap opera. Any more reflections? So for this week, because we're at time, amazingly, we got through another 3 chapters. For this week, I'd love to hear reflections on what your experience is like, what it feels like to hear these pastimes. You can pick one. Like, what did it feel like to hear Rukmini and Krishna's flirting with each other in this way, and him kind of like teasing her, and her turning it around and making it actually like a great praise of him? Or hearing about the fight at Rukmini's daughter's wedding, or Balaram actually was cheated in chess, or this whole Aniruddha dream boyfriend. Just you can just share like what it felt like to hear. And if you're reading earlier, please share that. And continuing the Krishna book, we're going to read, I think, the next 3 chapters too. So 63 to 65 likely. And we're going to have some resolution in this last pastime, which is kind of like cliffhanger. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad we could have Krishna book, even though we're on the West Coast. There's no impediment. Shri Krishna book ki jai.
Yeah.
Burlington Bhakti Sangha and beyond ki jai.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. May you all remember Krishna every day. Hare Bol. Thanks for your association.